Affirmations for a skeptic. I'm not sure why I wanted to make this video, but I thought the topic was interesting, and I kind of have a longish relationship with this particular topic. Now, the reason I called it Affirmations from a Skeptic was because, let's take it back. In high school, I was a very, I was really into science. I was really into, cosmology. This led me to be very atheist, right? A very big atheist. So the initial meetings that I had with the idea of affirmations and manifestation were met with a lot of judgment and repulsion, I guess you could say. And so I really only started dabbling when I was at drama school. The year was 2021. And there was some things that happened that I couldn't logically explain. I consider myself quite a logical guy. Like, I went to uni and I studied science. And like I said, I was an avid science enthusiast at high school. Everything was about logic and reason and things that made sense. So when I would hear about this idea of manifestation, it was like, are you joking? But then when I was at drama school, there was this guy who was a few years older than me, who became I guess a mentor for a little while. I really looked up to him, and he was all into that. He was into manifestation and affirmations, and he would post about it on Instagram, and then when we talk about it, he would tell all of these stories about, I guess you'd call them coincidences, but he was attributing those coincidences to a bigger meaning, suggesting that the universe has consciousness and that it is interacting with you and your thoughts and feelings and everything. And for him to say those things to me, him being a few years older, kind of down the track that I want to head down, I was very open to that idea. I was malleable, I guess. I was in a different city because I moved across Australia to study there. And I was doing all of these different new experiences, meeting all of these new people. So I guess inherently, I just became a lot more open-minded. The logic and reasoning side of me kind of had to put a pause on itself when you attend drama school. If you've ever attended drama school, you would understand why. We do all of these exercises, hours of them, that logically you think to yourself, what am I doing with my time? Why I'm wasting so much time doing this? Like, it feels like you're wasting time, but it's only because your logic can't justify why you were doing it. Only later, during performances, does it really click that you think, oh, I get why I did that. I get why we spent hours doing this. It's just at the time you don't realize it. And so because of that, it was like reconditioning your mind to release judgment on yourself and of the situation whenever you start to feel the logical mind coming into play. For me, that happened a lot in first year. I could feel it, especially during movement classes, where we'd be in a room and we'd be doing all this movement stuff, and I'd be like, what are we doing? There was this sense of judgment and this sense of holding on. But after weeks and weeks of doing it, hours and hours of practice, you begin to train your mind to let go of that judgment, to just be present. That was a massive turning point for me. In tandem with that, I also started meditating every day. I want to make a separate video on meditation. So for now, we'll just say that the meditation definitely helped with releasing judgment. So this mentor of mine, he recommended books like The Power of Now. Through that, the works of Deepak Chopra. There was a book, Power, Freedom, Grace, which he gifted me, which talked about the idea that our consciousness is the universe interacting with itself, which is very interesting when you think about it. I remember reading it for the first time and thinking, what the heck? That's crazy. And so because of this whole experience at drama school, I was very open-minded. And so the idea of manifestation and seeing it kind of take shape for this other guy, I wanted in. I wanted in on it. If he was, from my perspective, back in first year, second year, third year at drama school, this is 2021, 22, 23. I was 23 at the time in first year. Seeing him go and seeing him be where I want to be, I was like, well, if it works for him, why can't it work for me? And so I tried it. And so I wrote down affirmations. And affirmations, those of you who don't know, it's sentences of your goals or the places that you want to be, your dreams, but it's written in a way that suggests that you're already there, that you've already won it, that you've already gotten what you desire. What this does is when you read these affirmations, this is my experience of it, for a brief second, for a very brief second, when you read that affirmation, you might have a couple. You actually believe it. You believe that you were there. And what does that mean? When I say believe, I mean for a brief moment, you actually feel the emotions. You feel what it's like to have achieved that, which is a very bizarre experience. It happens very fleetingly. It isn't something where you read them and you're like, wow, it's there and it's there. For me, when I first started, it was very fleeting moments. Now, obviously, funnily enough, my acting work, particularly the sensory work that I did with Peter Carlos at the Melbourne Actors Lab, method acting, the sensory work has really helped with making those feelings a lot more real and a lot less fleeting. But I digress, back to the point. They were very fleeting moments. And so, what does that do when you actually feel those emotions? Well, first of all, let's think about it logically. Because if someone explained it to me back when I was closed-minded and very logical, whatever, blah, 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 it might have helped. So if you're very logical, very skeptical about affirmations, manifestations, let me break it down for you in the way that I interpret it. There's the whole side where, the universe is talking to you. I have countless examples of that happening to me. But it's not like I believe it on a daily basis. It's like when something happens, it's like, oh yeah, that is interesting. But back to what I was saying, let's think about it logically. If I believe that I have achieved what I want to achieve through affirmations, then I am developing the confidence of the person of the version of myself who has achieved this. There are two versions of yourself. There is one version of yourself who doesn't believe that you've done it, and there is the other version of yourself who believes they've done it. The crucial difference is whether you've actually achieved this in reality. It doesn't matter. What I'm referring to now is whether you believe it or not. And so let's take this person who doesn't believe it. And let's take a concrete example. Okay, let's take a concrete example. My partner is amazing. And she is participating in this program at the moment to help her start her own business. So you may be in a similar position. You might be starting your own business. In terms of the affirmations, you tell yourself, I own a successful X company. I own a successful software company that helps 5,000 users every month and makes $20,000 a month. As an example. You say that over and over, and for brief moments, you'll believe that. Just because if you say, your mind will believe what you constantly tell it. It's the same reason why people who have negative self-talk have low self-esteem. It's because their mind believes this self-talk. So affirmations, if you speak it enough, you will eventually, in fleeting moments at the beginning, feel what that's like. So now let's take it even further. Let's say whoever's been doing the affirmations, you do it every day for weeks and weeks and weeks. Those fleeting moments are going to grow. They're going to grow so much to a point where you have seconds feeling what it's like to have achieved those goals. What that's going to do is it's going to fill you with confidence. So, for example, if you are in the infancy of this business and you are pitching to people, you are cold calling them, and you believe that you are already making this much money and already helping this amount of people, you are going to feel confident to call them because you have no doubt that you can help them. You're already helping 5,000 people every month. So when you call them, you're like, yeah, no, we already help. Obviously, you're not going to say this, but when you speak to them, telling them about this new app, you're going to have conviction in your voice because part of you believes that you're already there, that you're already achieving that. If we compare that directly to someone who doesn't manifest, who doesn't do affirmations, there's going to be a lot of doubt because they have never felt what it's like to have achieved what they want in that business. And so when they're cold calling people, there's going to be a lot of hesitation in the voice, unless you're an actor and you can just fake it. Right? But not everyone's an actor, okay? So there is that direct comparison as to how affirmations can actually help you. Because people are going to buy from someone who has conviction. If they sound like they know what they're talking about, if they sound confident that their product can help them, they're going to want to buy. Again, these two versions of yourself, the affirmation version, the regular version, are on two different paths. This confidence is going to get more sales. It's going to get more users. It's going to get more success. That's going to lead you to that goal faster than if you never said affirmations in the first place. That's probably the most tangible, logical example of how affirmations can truly change your life. I'm going to show you something now, which is pretty crazy. Okay. When I was in second year, I started really diving deep into these affirmations. So much so that, what book was it in? I was reading Dr. Joe Dispenza. His book called something supernatural. Anyway, it's an audiobook. The audiobook has an Australian guy reading it. For some reason, the audiobook isn't that pleasing to listen to. So, FYI, it's probably best just to read it rather than listen to it. Now, I didn't get all the way through it because it became a little too far from my logical brain. But I could definitely respect moments in it. For example, he was using a lot of meditating into a state of theta brainwaves because the universe's frequency is 44 hertz, and if you meditate on a theta brainwave at 44 hertz, it connects to the universe, and then that stuff was a little bit much. But the logical side of it, the affirmations, by that point, it made sense to me. And so I went to drama school. I wanted to sign with a US manager in third year by the time I graduated, before I graduated. Why did I want to do that? Because Dacre Montgomery did. Dacre Montgomery is the guy from Stranger Things. You know, Billy. Hey, I'm Billy. He went to the same drama school as me. You know, we were doing plays, and after every play, the cast would sign the brick wall backstage. And I remember seeing Dacre Montgomery's name for the first time, thinking, oh my god, this is crazy. I digress. He went to Whopper, and in an interview, he said that he signed with a US manager in third year, or before he graduated, right? Because he booked Power Rangers before he even graduated drama school, right? He was a real entrepreneur actor, meaning he has a very business mind. I could talk about that for a while, actually, but I won't. And so he also mentioned visualization. There's an interview where they said, do you have any tips for young actors? And he says visualization. And that was another affirmation of the affirmations. And so in Dr. Joe Dispenza's book, he said, write what you want to manifest down on a piece of paper. And so because I wanted a manager, and by the way, it's quite difficult to get a US manager from Australia, because a lot of US managers, it's just difficult dealing with visas, especially if you've done nothing like this guy, especially coming straight out of drama school. And so I got this piece of paper and I wrote it down. In fact, I have it right here. This is my affirmation piece of paper that I've kept with me since 2020. Oh no, it was third year. I wrote this in third year, at the start of third year, when I was reading Dr. Joe Dispenza. And what does it say? Young, positive, enthusiastic manager based in LA, and they love my work. That became reality. So I signed with a US manager before I graduated and before I got my now Australian agent. Both of them are, I feel so lucky to be with them. The point being is, if I didn't have that card, if I wasn't reading that card every day, I wouldn't have the confidence and perseverance to film 60 self-tapes in 2022, in 2023. Right? I was self-taping twice a week, every week. I wouldn't have the persistency to email 86 managers. I emailed 86 managers, personal emails, every single one of them. I got 6 replies. I got 2 meetings. And I signed with Dana, my now current manager. And she is awesome. So without that card, without this manifestation, I wouldn't have had the courage, the confidence, the persistence to drive through the difficulty of doing something every day, of practicing over and over, seeing zero reward, by the way, zero reward. And so it happened. It happened. Which is quite interesting. And so I guess that is the biggest, that was the biggest kind of realization for me, that having these affirmations can actually seriously work. And it isn't about woo-woo the universe. Even though, like I said, there were times where things happened that I was like, whoa, this is the universe. The interesting thing though, there were some things that happened that I knew was the universe. It was like, if you've ever studied statistics, there is this thing called the confidence interval. And if it's, I can't even remember it. It's like, what's the likelihood of this being a coincidence? And if it's less than it, then it is statistically significant, meaning it isn't just by chance. So these universe things that happened, it felt like they were statistically significant, that there's no way it could be by chance. The timing is just ridiculous. And the universe, this is back in 2023, was pushing me to do something, and was giving me all the signs, but I never believed it. I believed it. I did believe it. I just didn't do anything about it. But it all resolved. It all resolved. And so I would encourage you to not just dismiss affirmations, to really consider them. Because first of all, it helps you choose a direction for your life. You know, everyone's life is a boat with a sail in the middle of the ocean. A lot of people don't have a direction. Because they don't have a direction, they're doing this. They're floating around in circles and circles, getting nowhere. And then maybe they'll rock up on a destination. They'll rock up on some shore, on some island. They're like, oh yeah, it's all right, yeah. But that island wasn't meant for them. They just happened to rock up on it. What a goal does, having a goal, having a place you can actually set your sights on, it allows you to use the sails, to use the wind, the momentum, to go somewhere quick. And when you get to that location, quick, fast, a couple months, because you know where you're going, then you can decide if it's right for you or not. If it's not, move on to the next. You can just, the amount of iterations you can complete is exponentially faster than if you don't have any goals. Now, if you've done a lot of thinking, a lot of meditation, and you really know where you want to go, using affirmations to be that guidepost has been incredibly effective for me. and could be incredibly effective for you. So that's pretty much my ramble for today. I'd love to hear if you do any, affirmations. What are your thoughts on affirmations? Manifestation. If you've read any of Deepak Chopra, read any of Dr. Joe Dispenza, Power of Now. What are your thoughts on it? I'd be interested to know. But with all that said, I'm incredibly grateful for everything. And I've been really enjoying making this type of video, just sitting down, having a yarn. It's quite nice. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.